The joy of creation is the best FNAF game out there. Even with it being out for 9 years since 2017, with the new T-Jock remake coming soon, it possibly being this year, I decided to revisit T-Jock, talk about it, and my personal experience. For people who don't know what the joy of creation is, you are new to the FNAF community itself. You play as Scott Cawthon, the creator of FNAF 1. And the rest of them, of course, obviously. His family being trapped in your own house while being hunted down by Freddy Fazbear and the rest of the crew. I really want to mention that the dude that you play for FNAF 1 is Mike Schmidt, or basically Michael Apton, that's basically known from now. It is also here, and yeah, then he was basically the FNAF guy in this whole entire game, and you will be seeing him a lot throughout the night. Not seeing him, but more like talking to you. Now, with there being many FNAF games out there over the years, there really has never been anything like it. I would like to think it broke the FNAF 1 formula, and the rest of them with it can be. Mechanics on each level being completely different. There are 5 nights as per usual, as we usually get, but these are not called nights, these are most called memories, because we do take the perspective of Scott's son, Nick. I won't go into every detail how the story goes, as I don't want to spoil the story if y'all really are curious to what happens. So with all that said, let's go ahead and begin. I want to say this right now, the bedroom is a weird one when you start the game, because you are a baby in a crib. I wish I was just joking, but you are a baby, fitting for your life. Not sure what Nixon was thinking about this, but it was a great first way to start the game. As we see in these first 2 nights, you go against Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, and Chica, each with their own mechanic. Freddy, he likes to creep on you through the window. All you gotta do is slightly reject him, closing the blinds. With Bonnie, he likes to bash your door down, and you have to lay in bed, and keep in mind, you do have a lamp that you must turn off whenever Bonnie comes in. Sadly, you can't leave it off all night, because you have a sanity meter that goes down. Here's the thing though, the game doesn't really tell you about this mechanic, but we will come back to this later. With Chica, she likes to simply hide in your closet. The answer? Simple. Turn off the light. Sometimes you gotta look at her, and if she's ignored, she just stuns you, and it's probably the worst thing ever. Now with Foxy, he's under your bed. He likes to peep out occasionally and try to kill you. And simple answer to that one as well is just lay down, close your eyes. Lamp doesn't bother him, I'd like to say that. Now, with all these animatronics really over here trying to kill a little baby, and the reason you were a baby is because you were, again, in Nick's perspective as a son, basically you're a baby in this one, they like to be very entertaining. As I mentioned before, we have a sanity meter in this game. If you lose your sanity, a literal Shadow Freddy comes and kill you. And this isn't the FNAF 2 Shadow Freddy, as I once thought when I first started the game. I don't know why he's here, but he is here, and it's just weird. And, like I said, the lamp keeps your sanity up, but we will make your lamp turn off, so you have to keep an eye out for it. I will say this though, I played this game through night 1 through night 4 on literal hard mode because I had decided to actually use a broken headphones for this gameplay. It really did hurt because this game has a mixture of visual cues and audio cues, with bedroom being there. Using audio cues are hard because, you know, left noise, right noise. I had to use visual cues and it was hard to do that, especially when a crib is literally blocking my way. But surprisingly, I did beat it first try. On a side note, it just being a bedroom and seeing a couple cool things, there is literally a Pop Goes Easter egg, which is literally on your wall, and the baby drawer that is right next to does resemble a bit of the FNAF 1 desk, which is kind of cool, with the Freddy honking nose. As per usual, you got that little fan that you got. But I do want to say this though, night 2, 3, and 4, and 5 do get a bit harder from here. The living room is probably the most RNG level in the game, especially when you don't know how the characters work. On top of that, the living room is where it introduces it being a partial free roam. Freddy and Foxy go through the left and right door at the same time, so it's hard to hide from them, which is to behind their doors when they come through. The only way to unsync them is by pausing them through the cameras from the television. Bonnie is right behind you, and this is where it basically leads to the RNG level, because while you do have Freddy and Foxy, you also have Bonnie. So you have to unsync Freddy and Bonnie, but at the same time, you also have to keep in mind how Bonnie has 4 phases. and it really does leave it to interpretation of how it goes. Bonnie does have visual and audio cues. Bonnie looking through the keyhole, knowing when he's about to pop in the door, and then Bonnie growls 3 to 4 times, knowing when he's about to burst in. Although Foxy and Freddy just have visual cues. So you could probably see how this can be really confusing, especially when it leads to a 50% chance of who's coming first, and sometimes you just don't know. I want to talk about the most annoying part of this is Chica. She is just full on audio cues. Now, like I mentioned before, my headphones are broken. So you can admit, when I say this, Chica was the most hardest for me, and thank God she doesn't kill you. She stuns you over and over and over again just because I can't hear her coming inside my living room. You don't have visuals for it either, so you're just automatically stunned. With these first 2 levels, you can see that they are completely different, and these will be all the levels. Each level takes different strategy to beat, along with different experience. People loving some levels, people hating some levels, but they are still good in their own way. And this is why I think the game does beat the classic Office formula. Now, with delivering, the RNG did hurt it a little bit, but it was still a good level. You just have to know the strategy and the rhythm how to do it. I mean, if you ever noticed the T-Jock living room demo, it was completely different than this one, and it's probably by far better than the demo. You just gotta figure out the strategy of these nights, and it'll be easy. With it all being a horror game, it does make a pretty good puzzle game as well, if you think about it. We finally get to play Scott. With 2 levels in, we see his side of what happens. Our first experience, lo and behold, is the office. Keep in mind, it's not FNAF 1 office, but it does have similarity to it. And I must say, this is probably my favorite level in the game. It brings back some familiar ground, looking through cameras and threats. What makes this level different from the rest is, this one is a boss fight against Freddy. Keep in mind, Freddy does not kill you this night. As I mentioned, cameras, he likes to hide in those cameras, and you have to flash him 12 times before 6 AM. But it's not just him you have to deal with, you also have to deal with Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica. And Foxy is probably one of the most annoying ones in there, because while you're looking at the cameras, Foxy will also be in there, and you have to literally scare Foxy away before trying to check for Freddy. And the only way to get rid of Foxy is by staring at him before he gets agitated and he barges into your office. Sometimes Foxy and Freddy like to share the same room for some reason. I don't know if it's his AI. He's very buggy this night. But if you can't find Freddy, you most likely be able to see him in with Foxy. Bonnie is also in the cams, but is not a threat either, exactly similar to Freddy, but does break your cameras, so it makes you blind and unable to see Freddy. They nerfed Bonnie later in development, from what I noticed, and he used to kill you when you opened the door with him in there. But replaying the game, it does seem he doesn't do it no more. Instead, he just stands in the room awkwardly. People had some bad luck that night, I'm guessing. Lastly, Chica. She finally gets to kill you this night, but she is on a timer. On occasion, you see her crawling through your wall. And it seems the way to get rid of her is by finding her 3 cupcakes scattered throughout the environment, either being in your office or being in the other rooms. How do you manage to flash Freddy with all these animatronics stalling you before sex him? It's very simple, and one animatronic helps you, and that would be Bonnie. With him breaking the cameras, Foxy can't appear in them. But keep in mind, if Bonnie breaks all the cams, Foxy makes the game over immediately, ending your run quickly. So all you have to do is leave 1 cam on. And this just makes this night simple. You would think with the time limit, you would be in a rush to finish the night, but Freddy gives you so many chances to flash him, it's almost hard to lose. Even though I died to Foxy having a broken AI, and ending the round so many times, he does appear out of nowhere. If you checked him, he's not there. So Foxy was a handful this night, but it does make the night very easy if you actually can't keep Foxy in check. Me talking about The Office does make me excited for the remake, because it does seem like they added a few more mechanics, which does make the night a bit more challenging. Them adding a resource management, aka power, your flash charges, basically being enabled into fuses. And it does seem like Chica will be more contained into your office than the outside environment. You do not have a time limit, unlike the OG FNAF office, so that will be very cool to see. The basement. I can't really think of anything that comes to mind when it's FNAF related. As it is a FNAF fan game, this barely isn't even considered an actual level in my book. as this level is mostly a break from all the chaos that you had to endure. With this being more lore heavy than what's been going on throughout the whole game, and what you've been fighting against, this level completely flips the script from being a horror game to a puzzle game with certain enemies you must avoid while doing different objectives throughout the whole basement. These characters are called the Fallen, and if you're wondering where Freddy and the others are, there you go, and after that whole boss fight, you don't ever get to see them again. Basically, these enemies are a weeping type angel character, a stationary character, basically if you get too near them, it's an immediate game over, and there is one more, which is a foxy type character that you rarely see, only like once, and those are pretty much the enemies. I wish I could talk about this one more, but the best way I can describe this is if you're playing a Saw game mixed with FNAF. It wasn't hard, it wasn't easy, it was just meh. The basement feels like one of those levels that are there just to pad the game longer than it needs to be. It's the calm before the storm, because the next night, the final night, is hardest of them all. And we are finally close to the end of this video with the final level of this game. Nothing is without the game having a final grand conclusion where we hit ourselves facing off just not one boss fight, but we are going against two boss fights. These being Golden Freddy, that works very similar to Freddy from The Office, and Creation, which is basically an amalgamation of the core 4 animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. But he will head to where you are, and you have to flash it before he gets to your room. While we are talking about The Office, from what we see, this isn't partial freedom no more. This is back to your classic sit and survive the night with a camera system in front of you, with two doors on your side, and if you think about it, it does make sense. This is where you're fighting against everyone from FNAF 1, straight out of a nightmare it seems, with two doors I talked about. The endos do come back. These will be the guys in the doors, if they are missing from the camps. Close the doors immediately because you do not have much time to react, as they will end your game immediately. Now, usually I have a strategy with these nights, but with this night being hard to play with a mix of visual cues and audio cues, I had to buy new headphones just to beat the night. It was really hard to focus with it being the hardest night in the game. I did beat it, almost giving up. I'd say it probably gave about like 4 hours to beat, almost a day and a half, I guess. I think the creation is probably one of those designs that some people hate and dislike, but I'm a big fan of it. Even when you think of the design coming, even when you beat the third night, it makes sense, although with Golden Freddy, he was shown throughout the levels being secretly triggered by doing his different things, so it wouldn't be surprised for him to be here, even though it didn't quite make sense, if I'm honest with you, even though we don't really see him, but it was still a crazy experience from what I had, and whenever the remake comes, even confirmed that Golden Freddy won't be there, doesn't mean Creation won't, so therefore, it would be very cool to see what a remake, fully polished Creation would look like. This has been my video on the joy of Creation, one of the best fan games people in this community will ever experience. And if you want to check it out after this, there will be a link down below the video, and see it for yourself. With this video taking way longer than I expected, at the end of the day, I had fun, and I can't wait to do more of these game topics and other stuff. The Joy of Creation remake is something that I will be keeping an eye on along with others, and if there's any other games y'all want me to check out, I'll be happy to see that. And with that, goodbye y'all, and I'll see y'all on the flip side.